Hey, everybody, and welcome. I can't believe we're here already. I can't believe it is the end of 2024 and we're setting down to do the airing of the grievances for 2024, a proud Alasquatch tradition, which I think this is only the second year. I think I started it last year. And, just to let those of you who are new here in on the gag, it's just I sit down at the end of every year and I talk about the things that I don't like about the Bigfoot community. And I try and choose different things every year, or that's the goal anyway. And just things that irked me or brought me displeasure throughout the year in the Bigfoot community. And I just kind of unload. And I did it for a couple of reasons. One, because I feel like some of these things need to kind of be addressed. And two, to try and keep me a little bit more positive during the year. And I've noticed it worked a little bit. I did not get on as many negative rants, I think, this year as I normally do because I would kind of start to go that way and I'd be like, you know what, save it for the grievances, save it for the grievances. So I think it worked out that way. And I kind of been keeping a little list throughout the year of things that irked me or made me angry or just otherwise displeased me. And I think we'll get into it. I last year I kind of gave a big intro and spiel. The only thing I will say is, obviously, I'm not perfect. Again, if I may do some or all of the things on the list, whenever you point a finger at somebody, you have fingers pointing back. So please don't don't call out any. If you catch me being a hypocrite, don't call it out. I'm telling you right now, I'm a hypocrite. So don't worry about it. Okay, mind your own business. And I am very negative. Okay, like have you guys seen the meme of the glasses with liquid in them, and one's like I'm half empty, and the other one's like I'm half full, and the other one's like I think this is piss. That's me. I'm the piss one. So um this year I'm going to do something. Last year I did a list and I like went through them like one, two, three, four. This year I'm not quite going to do that, but I am going to maybe a lot of these are pretty much story based where there is something around them where I'm like, this happened to me and this made me angry. So this is the story. So these are just kind of going to be, there's some that are just kind of almost like this thing in general displeases me, but some of them there's going to be a story behind it. And this first one, the first couple actually that I'm going to get into are kind of story based. And I think there's a certain theme I think to be had from tonight's episode, and I think I wonder if I should mention it now or maybe at the end. But it's kind of almost like ties together with last year. It's almost the same thing, but different in a sense, I guess. But anyway, let the airing of the grievances begin. I need to get like some artwork or some what do you call it? Some fanfare or something for these. Like a little Sasquatch comes out and like gives a thumb down or something. So the first one, I was contacted by a friend who said, "Hey, this person," and again, I'm not going to name any names. Maybe a few names of the innocent that were involved, but none directly. Uh, I was contacted by a friend and said, "Hey, this person is doing a an article or a story about Port Chatham and or Alaska. They're doing like a theme project on Alaska, and they're doing this story about Alaska or Port Chatham, and they interviewed this my friend, and my friend they told them my friend like, hey, I'm doing a thing about Port Chatham, and uh, my friend was like, oh, well, you should talk to Beans because he's like the dude, and so I said, yeah, sure. They said, heads up, this person may be contacting you. I put them in, I put them on or I put you on their radar. And I told them you would probably be willing to be interviewed. And I said, yeah, okay, sure, no problem. So sure enough, a few days go by, and I get a message from this person, and it's like, "Hey, I'm doing this project on Alaska and Port Chatham and blah blah blah, and would you like to be interviewed?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I can set aside some time to talk to you. Just let me know, how much time you need and how you want to do it, and we'll get it done." And then nothing. Like weeks go by, and I don't hear anything. And then just out of the blue, one day, I get a message from them, and I'm like, oh, this person finally wants to like do our interview or finally wants to talk. And it's just like an Amazon link for their book that they've written, not the one they were working on for this project, for something like a book they had written in the past. So I'm just like, okay, am I supposed to buy your book? Like, do I need to read your book before you interview me? Like, I don't understand. So I just left it. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know if this person's trying to sell me their book now. I don't know if they sent me this by accident. Like, I'm just gonna let it lie, and I haven't heard from a person since. So I don't know what that was all about. Uh, but I just feel like it was a very odd interaction. I didn't like it. It made me feel kind of weird because here I am volunteering my time to this person to work on a project that they're probably gonna. I mean, let's be honest, they'll probably make some money on it, or they're probably gonna try and make some money on it. They didn't, and then I hear nothing, and then they send me a link to their book that's for sale. Not the book not the project they were working on for the interview. This is something that came out a few years ago. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Am I supposed to buy your book? I don't, this is a little weird. So that was just a weird interaction. And I would pass on to you that there was a lesson learned here. And hopefully you guys can absorb it. Uh, if something happens and you can't, if you make plans with someone like, hey, we're going to do an interview, hey, we're going to do this, or you reach out to someone and talk about it. If it's not going to happen, give them a heads up. Hey, you know what? Plans have changed. I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to do the interview. Whatever. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it, but it's not going to happen. And have a great have a great day. And by the way, I know you're interested in Bigfoot. I don't know if you know this, but I wrote this book. Here you go. Just FYI. That would have made me that would have made like I wouldn't be here talking about this if the transaction had gone that way. Um, so yeah, just a little weird, a little icky. And and it did cross my mind that the person that my friend that put me in contact with this person was female, and I'm like, was he just wanting to talk to her and didn't have any interest in talking to me? Like, and she made him feel kind of awkward and was like, oh, I guess I'll reach out to this guy. So I don't know. Just felt very unprofessional. And here we go. So the next story is quite an interesting one. So I get a lot of requests to be on podcasts, and I've pretty much developed a rule that I will not agree to be on a podcast until I have listened to at least an episode, if not more, of said podcast. And that rule came about because of a request I got once. And this guy reaches out and he says, hey, uh, I'm former law enforcement like you, and I would like to have you on my podcast and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, okay. So I'm like, I'll do it. I just agreed to it right then and there because I'm like, oh, this guy's he's former law enforcement. I'm sure it'll be squared away. And we set the date for a month or two, whatever it was. And so the day comes, and I've had this on my calendar for a while, so obviously I'm ready to go. Uh, we're going to record at such and such time, and most of the time when something like this is set up, uh, the requester, the party with the podcast, will say something like, "I'll send you a link a few hours before, or a few minutes before, whatever." And I hadn't heard from this person in a while since we made the arrangement, but I'm like, well, it's probably fine because this guy's former law enforcement. I'm sure they're used to keeping schedules and having like court dates and stuff for a ways out. So it's probably he doesn't feel the need to pester me and say, hey, don't forget, don't forget. So the time comes. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. And we're a few minutes away from the time we're supposed to record. I can't remember. I think it was supposed to be live. I don't remember. But I get up and come down here to my setup, and I'm just waiting because I'm like, okay, well, I don't have any time to prepare, so we're gonna have to go when he sends me the link. And nothing. The time comes, the time goes, and hey, sometimes stuff happens and you run a little late, and I know sometimes I'm not always within cell service. So I try and give people the benefit of the doubt, although most people are within cell service, especially in the lower 48. So, like 15 minutes comes and goes, and 20 minutes comes and goes, and then 30 minutes comes and goes. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's not going to happen. And I message the person like, hey, I'm ready, like, let me know. And nothing, no reply. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess I got stood up. So I go back upstairs, sit down, start watching TV. Like an hour and a half, I think, after we were supposed to start, I get a message like, "Oh, sorry, I'm ready to go now." And I almost said, "Sorry, I can't. I'm busy now," even though I wasn't. I almost just the disrespect of it all. I almost said no, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe the person had a good because he didn't give a reason. He just, "Oh, sorry, ready to go now." It wasn't like, "Oh my god, my car broke down. Oh, sorry, my dog was sick." It wasn't anything. There was no excuse. It was just, "I'm ready to go now." So, against my better judgment, I come downstairs, fire up the computer, get on. And I'm sure, I think it was the worst show I've ever been on. I'm pretty sure the guy was on something. I don't know, some probably pain meds or something. Like I felt like I was talking to like Hank Williams Jr. He's like looking at me like he's kind of talking kind of slow through heavy lidded eyes. And he's asking me he's asking me questions. He's like, so why do like a million people go missing in Alaska every year? And I'm like, it's not a million people. Like if it was, there wouldn't be anybody living up here. So anyway, I got through it. I don't think I ever went back and a lot of times I'll go back and listen to a lot of the interviews I do to see how I can improve, or maybe, okay, maybe I should have answered this that way or whatever. Did not revisit that one. I'm like, this was a train wreck, the biggest train wreck of all train wrecks. Fast forward a few years to 2024, and I get a message from someone, and they're like, hey, we've had you on before. We'd like to have you on again. And I'm like, I think, is this that person? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm getting ready to say no. And he says, well, if you want to be on, my assistant or my co-host or whatever will like help you out. And I go and I don't watch any of the new shows, but I go back and I look and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty professional. Like, and it was early on, I think, in this guy's like podcasting career. I'm like, I'll against my better judgment, I'll agree. And he has a person now that like handles his scheduling and stuff. So, and I get in contact with that person, and it's a she, and she's like, oh yeah, I can put you on this day, or, this, she gives me these like, options. I pick an option and she's like, oh, sorry, nope, just filled up. God. I'm like, already I'm starting to like, ooh, like, am I doing the right thing here? But I'm a nice guy and I'm a people pleaser. So I'm like, fine, let's do it this day. Okay, okay, okay. So we get it locked in and I don't hear any more about it. And it's getting close to a month out or so, I think. And I get a message from the guy again. And he's like, oh, hey, I just want to confirm you're going to be on the show on this date, right? And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, I thought his person was handling this. And then I get a message from like her, and she's like, oh, hey, just to confirm, you're going to be on this show on this date, right? And I'm like, wait, these are two different shows. I don't understand like what's going on. And finally, I can't remember. I was like, what is going on? Like something's not right here. Like, because I got a couple of messages basically like wanting me to confirm. And one was for one show and one was for another show for the same date at the same time. So finally, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And comes to find out, these two were like in a relationship. They split up. She goes, I guess, to do her own show. He goes and continues his own show, and they both want me on it the same day at the same time. And I was just like, okay, no, no. I'm not, I don't, I want to be nice, but I'm like, honestly, I'm not going to do either one. Like, this is a train wreck. You guys, figure it out. I'm not doing it. And, I mean, it was literally like, a custody battle between mom and dad and the kids. Like, he's supposed to be on this day. No, he's supposed to be on this day. Will you agree to be on the show? And, again, made me feel very, very, weird, like just very unprofessional, very, not cool. And I haven't heard. Now, I will say the female half of the party was very, very like, hey, I understand, I'm sorry this happened. And he was more like, oh, whatever, you agreed to be on the show, but if you don't want to, whatever. So again, I should have listened to my gut. I should have never agreed to it in the first place. I should just ignore the message. But just a weird situation all around, and not one that I appreciated being put in, and just a general, I feel, a lack of professionalism. So yeah, that was weird, and I just couldn't get it. But let's move on to something else here. Something that's been bugging me that I see quite a lot of is this like almost like a shameless self promotion. Like, just you put out a podcast or something, and you go post about it in every Bigfoot group you're a member of. You're just always spamming your stuff and all of these, like basically everywhere. Now I get it sharing it to your page or your Facebook group or whatever. Like, I get that. Don't get me wrong. That's why those people like those things. But when you just like go and you just like, check out my podcast here, and you're just going through all these Bigfoot groups and just bam, 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 bam. And it just feels a little scummy to me, a little weird. Now, if you have a podcast that's on a particular subject and people are talking about that subject, like, I don't know, eye shine or something, and you have a show that you did on eye shine and you feel like it was, oh, hey, you know what, this might answer some of these people's questions, or this, I feel like this is relevant and you want to throw it in there. Hey, great, fine. I get it. And I've probably done it. I'm sure I have. But just just throw it, like, you just have every episode of every podcast you've ever done, and you're just like, with a 50 cal machine gun, just putting the links into every single like Bigfoot group you can find. Man, I'm surprised that some of those groups allow that, and the groups that do allow that probably aren't that great to be in. Um, but yeah, that's just a bunch of just shameless self promotion going on. But you know what? All those podcasts are probably doing better than mine. So what do I know? The other thing that's driving me crazy that I've been seeing a lot of is just the loudest room in a guy syndrome. These like, I'm the baddest mofo, and I'm gonna go snatch up a Sasquatch and break his neck and throw him on a plate and take him to the nearest government facility and make him admit that he's real. Or the like, you see this a lot with like the older like Vietnam vets, like era guys. They're just, I'm gonna I'm gonna delete this thing and delete that thing or this person, and very like violent. And it's like violence is the first thing that, although none of them would ever probably resort to violence, and they would probably make a mess in their pants if they ever actually were faced with violence. But that's like their like language. They're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. There was a dude, this is not Bigfoot related, but there was a dude that I used to work with. He wasn't a cop, and he retired. Actually, I didn't work with him. He retired, but I would run into him because he worked at the same place I worked at. He was not a police officer. Keep that in mind. And every conversation I had with the dude, he would bring up like deleting people or like making people, not be anymore. And it was just the most unsettling thing. It was just so weird. I mean, you'd be like, "Hey Bob, how's the weather?" And he's like, "Oh, there's some guys out there in my neighborhood. They're running around siphoning gas out of cars, and if I ever catch one of them, I'm gonna put a bullet right there in between their dome." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you have a good day." I mean, that, like literally every conversation I ever had with the dude went like that. In fact, it was so bad. I remember being at a Christmas party with the dude and sitting down and like having a chat with him. And I remember when we got done talking, I remember thinking like, "Oh my God, that's the first time. Is he okay?" Because that's the first time I've ever talked to him, and he didn't mention like wanting to murder a person. So it was just like the weirdest, like that was like baseline for him is just, and the dude hasn't probably fired a gun in probably years. And he's like so out of shape. It's not even funny, like morbidly obese. Not that I'm one to talk, but like my 600-pound life, like obese. And it was just, I don't know, just a strange dude. I just don't get it. And I don't get that kind of bravado. It's like the toughest guy in the room is usually the quietest guy in the room. That's kind of how I have always thought of it. And it's usually true. Like the one that's telling you how big and bad he is not big and bad. The one that never talks about how big and bad he is probably the one that's the baddest dude in the room because he's the most confident guy in the room. He doesn't feel like he has to tell everybody about it. Let's see. Let's move into another story. This is an interesting um, situation that's happened to me a couple of times in the last couple of years, and it's really like kind of weird. Apparently, I've reached this level of fame where I'm not famous, but I know the famous people, so I get people contacting me to contact the famous people for them, if that makes any sense. Like I've had like a couple of different people reach out to me and be like, "Hey, this is going on. This is a hot thing right now. This is a hot spot. We've got this area right here, and can you get me in touch with Small Town Monsters?" Like that's happened like a couple of times in the last year. And then another one that was like, "Hey, uh, my friend has like this activity going on in her place. Can you get in contact with Lyle Blackburn for me?" And I'm like, these people have websites with emails. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I'm not calling them on the phone. I'm not. Like, the most I would do is send them like a Facebook message and say, "Hey, this person is trying to get in touch with you about some activity. I don't know. I can't vouch for them, but that's what they said." And that's pretty much what I did. But yeah, I'm not Small Town Monsters agent. Like, I don't have Seth Breedlove's phone number on speed dial. I don't even know if I have his number. I might. We almost never talk. Occasionally, but we're not. I'm not in a position to like pitch things to him or anyone for that matter. And I'm not in a position to send them on an investigation. I'm not their dispatcher. Um, the one gentleman was just like really excited about this place and was like, "Oh, there's all this stuff going on here, and blah 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 blah. We got to get some hotel monsters down here." And I'm like, "Dude, they like plan their year out a year in advance." Like I don't know what he's doing right now. I don't know what Seth Breedlove's doing right now, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to drop everything he's doing and come to where you're at just because you say so. Like you're going to have to like really produce some crazy evidence probably to get him to abandon whatever project he's working on now and has probably sunk money into to come look at your stuff, whatever it is. And of course, when I'm like, "Hey, I'll reach out, but I can't promise anything," then I never hear from him again. So it's just it's weird. And people think that I have some kind of flex or something like where I can just drop, everything I'm doing and come down. And like I don't make documentaries. I make these shitty YouTube videos that nobody watches. Like I don't have like nobody's gonna pay any attention if I come down and make a video of your and I'm not gonna spend the money to fly. Oh, the dogs must see a moose or something. To fly like to the lower 48 just on your say so. Like you've got to send like some really, really compelling evidence for me to think that maybe I need to spend about $1,500 to go see this in person. I think people don't think of it like that. They just think like, oh, these guys are into Bigfoot. They want to find Bigfoot. They're going to want to come and look at my property. And they'll be like, here's a picture of a broken stick. They're here, and it's just like, I'm not traveling across the country to look at that. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? Yeah. So I am not Small Town Monsters agent at all. Sorry. I don't know. I cannot get you in touch with Small Town Monsters. um, and I'm not going to actually anymore. After these last couple of times, I've been like, well, okay, I'll send them a message. And in both cases, both parties, I think both Small Town Monsters and Lyle was just like, yeah, I got an email from them. I haven't messaged them back yet. Like I don't know. So I don't know what the outcome of it was. I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe next month when Small Town Monsters does their Kickstarter, they're going to be like, "This is where we're going," and I'll be sitting there like, "Damn it, that's that place that I told them about." And I'm kind of like the Forrest Gump of Bigfoot. I'm like on the periphery of all these things. I'm never like quite the center focus, but I'm like peripherally involved. And it would just be my luck that I would be the guy that would be like, "Hey, you guys should go look for Bigfoot over there." And then they go over there and find him. And then I never get any credit, but that's, that's kind of how my Bigfoot, career goes. So let's see. Do I want to tell this story now? Uh, no, we'll save that one for a minute. I want to talk about this one real quick. Um, I've seen this trend of people that are very they become almost like sycophants towards certain people. And there's this person I have in mind. He's a pretty big deal, I guess, in the Bigfoot community. You know he goes to he does a lot of conferences, he does a lot of stuff, and I guess he's pretty well known for having an abrasive personality. And personally, I I don't get the fascination with him. Like I don't get the cult basically that's built up around him, especially the way he treats people. So we were thinking about getting this guy to talk at the Boreal Bigfoot Expo, and one of the organizers got basically tasked to reach out and like, hey, would you be interested in coming here and speaking? How much would it cost to get you here? Blah blah blah. And he treated that representative very very rudely, and just I mean, again, we're kind of playing a telephone game because they are telling me what he said, and I'm just like, what? He said what? And I'm like, I would have slapped him through the internet if he said that to me. And you know, the thing is after that, like after he was so mean to that person, like I still hear that person and others like then that was in that group talk highly of this person. Like, oh, we should we should ask that a news article or something comes up. Oh, I'd like to know what so and so thinks about that. I'd like to know what that Bigfoot person thinks about that. And I'm like, man, I wouldn't listen to what they said if there was like gold coming out of their mouth, because it's like after the way that person now keep in mind, Beans is a grudge holder. I hold grudges like they're the freaking a life preserver off the Titanic. Okay, but still, like you can't treat people like that and then expect. Although it happens apparently, you can't treat people like that and then expect them to like you. I don't get it, and you're not really, in my opinion, this person isn't offering anything. Like they have no theories, they have no speculations. It's just a gimmick. And to treat people the way they do, I'm kind of surprised they're still, although I do think maybe they're not as big as they were. I kind of feel like their time is coming. Like they're going to basically burn so many bridges, they're going to be out. And I think it's coming soon. Hopefully it is. God, if there's any karma in the world, it is. But yeah, I was surprised, and I'm more surprised at how people were just like, "Oh yeah, that's just his way. He's a abrasive personality. So let's see what he's got to say about this. Let's keep watching his shows and reading his books and doing this and doing that." And I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm just like, the dude is dead to me. Done. Done with it. And I'm surprised he still has as many followers as he does. I can't believe he would treat somebody like that. Somebody that's trying to basically give him a job. Like, hey, I would like you to come and speak at this, and how much do you cost? And I mean, it was cost prohibitive. We wouldn't have had him anyway because of the high cost, but his attitude would have probably, at least in my opinion, I would have been like, no, I don't, even if he was affordable, I'd have been like, no, we don't need to have him. So yeah, don't be a fanboy, a sycophant. If somebody doesn't treat you with the respect you deserve, like don't don't support them at all. Uh, all right. So, man, I'm gonna save that one for last, or not last, but next to last. Another thing that has kind of caught my attention that you don't really see as much anymore, but you did there for a while, is you have these certain like fads and sightings. And what I mean by that is, like, remember there for a long time, I think it was around the time that Sasquatch Chronicles started. Like everybody was all in on the spider crawl. Like it was the Bigfoot was spider crawling. It was crawling on his fingertips, or it was down, crawling. And you heard about that for a long time. And then there was a bunch of sightings or people's accounts that incorporated that. And then it kind of, you don't really hear about it anymore. And it just kind of went away. And it's like, so do they not do that anymore? Or was that just other people jumping on the bandwagon? Like, I understand, like when you mention something like, oh, I saw this. And then somebody else would be like, oh, I saw that too. I understand there's that effect, but this was just a full on, like, this wasn't like, oh, I saw that too. This was a full on, like, incorporated into many sightings, like after it became a thing. And then it was also there for a while. There was people that were mentioning how the Bigfoot had like gray ashy skin, and there was like a period, like if you go back and listen to some of these encounter podcasts, it's like that's mentioned in every sighting for like a while, and then it just goes away and something else will like take over. I don't know. It's, to me, it almost seems like, I almost feel like it's something that's used in fabricated accounts to basically like, oh, let's add something to these accounts that make them collaborate other accounts. And this is the new flavor of the month: the spider crawl, the ashy skin, the jumping, I think, was one there for a while. Like it was leaping like a freaking frog or something. And then there's several sightings, witnesses that will come forward, talk about seeing that or something similar to it, and then it just goes away and it's almost never mentioned again. And it's almost like a little fad. It's a little fad. Oh yeah, I saw Bigfoot, and he was crawling on the ground like a spider. And then all of a sudden, that's not cool anymore. So then you saw a Bigfoot that was like leaping like Frogger across the street. He cleared a stop sign, and then that's not a fad anymore. So now it's like, oh, I saw a Bigfoot, and he had gray ashy skin. It wasn't like normal skin. It was gray and it was ashy. So I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's not. Um, but it seems like it's something that I picked up on kind of early on, and would notice like things would kind of come and go in like spurts. And to me personally, I think that's a sign of a deception when all of a sudden you don't like how many like historical Bigfoot accounts are out there, and then all of a sudden you hear about one thing just over and over and over again, and then you don't hear about it anymore, and something else kind of like comes to the forefront. So I don't know. It's just my opinion. Um, so the next one on my list is something I've kind of noticed a lot with my memes. Those of you that aren't familiar, I have a Facebook page, the Last Squatch Facebook page, and a Last Squatch podcast Instagram. And every once in a while, when I'm inspired, I will make a meme, usually depicting the Bigfoot community or something like that. Just something that kind of it's almost like therapy for me. I'm like, this is bugging the shit out of me. I'm going to make a funny meme about it because if you don't laugh, you're probably crying. So I do that a lot, and I'll post these memes, and I make fun of stuff occasionally, and most of the time it's just jokes, or maybe there's like one particular instance that I'm kind of poking fun at, and I get these people. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but there for a while it was pretty consistent, where I would post a meme and it would be making fun of something or something somebody does, and somebody would have to be like, "Not me. I don't do that." In fact, I do the opposite. And I'm like, why do you have to qualify that? Like, if you don't do it, you don't do it. You don't have to tell me about it. It's kind of weird that you have to quantify it like that. It's like whenever someone uh comments something like that on a meme where they're like, not me, I don't do that. I'm like, they freaking 100% do, or they have. Like, it's almost like them raising their hand going, I do that. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, but I always found it a little weird when someone had to just like, I saw this random thing on the internet that was making fun of people that eat left-handed. So I had to be sure and get on there and say, I don't do that. I eat right-handed. It's like, what is it? It doesn't matter. Unless the thing said your name eats left-handed. You don't have to answer. You don't have to like go, oh, I don't eat left-handed. Or if they're like, hey, let us know in the comments. Hey, that's fine. I get it. I understand participating and stuff like that. But if it's just a general like meme or funny thing, and then you feel the need to be like, no, I don't do that. I don't no, no. I always put the shopping cart back in the corral. I always do it every single time. It's like, I bet you don't, or I bet you haven't. If you feel the need to qualify it like that. All right. All right. So this is one of the most personal stories. There's two, and these are the last two, I think. Let me check. Yeah. So um I mentioned last airing of the Grievances, the 2023 edition, how um there was this event promoter that had ghosted me. Remember, I was telling you. So this guy reaches out. I'll briefly paraphrase it. This guy had reached out, said, "Hey, I'm putting together an event. It was like Alaska themed, and I was wondering if you would participate. And do is anyone else who would be interested in participating?" And I just, he was wanting somebody with a particular knowledge base, and I thought, man, Rob Roy Menzies is perfect for this. I'm going to recommend he talked to Rob Roy. So I gave him Rob Roy's information, and I contacted Rob Roy. I said, hey, this guy's that's putting on this event. He may want to talk to you. And Rob Roy was like, gotcha. And I went back and forth with this guy a little bit. Um, I mentioned last year, he basically asked like, hey, what do you want to come speak? And I said, you know what, nothing. Just pay for my room and my travel, and we'll call it good. And he said, great, I'll drop the contract and get it to you. And I quoted him like, this is how much I'm going to need for travel. And he said, great, I'll get the contract to you. And I know, like the closer you get to an event, like you check airline tickets one day and then you go back the next day and they've gone up like $100 or something. So I was a little nervous. I was like, man, he's gonna give me this much to travel. Like, I don't know how long it's gonna take him to get me the contract or the money. Like, he might not even want to pay until after I get there and have done it. So I said something to my wife about like, man, maybe I should go ahead and buy the ticket and get my room um, taken care of. And she said, no, we'll wait until he sends the contract. Thank God she did, because I never heard from the dude again. Like, never. And I almost bought like $1,000 worth of plane tickets. And so that irritated me. Like, and I asked Rob Roy, I'm like, hey, did that person like ever like get back to you? And he's like, no, I never heard from him again. Because he did the same thing to Rob Roy pretty much. So I felt that was a pretty shitty way to treat people. Now I understand that plans change, things fall through, finances don't happen, whatever. But when you tell someone you're going to want them at your event, and then you can't have them there, you need to let them know. It's just not good business to like just ignore people or just, oh well, he'll figure it out. So I have to tell you that story so I can tell you this story. So this summer, I'm camping. I'm out in the woods. It was a decent trip. I think it was the day that Arlo and I went to Skookum Lake. There's a few videos back of me and my dog walking to a place called Skookum Lake. We went on a little hike. It was a great day, great hike. And we had spent the night before and camped, and had went home that day after the hike. So I'd been out of cell phone service. Like, I hadn't had any service. I hadn't had contact with anyone other than like texting my wife via my inReach. And I get into town, into a city. And usually, when I go camping, if I'm out in the woods for a day or two, if I can, when I get into civilization, I like to get a good meal. Like, I'm going to eat something that, like a fast food or, something, a treat. I'm going to treat myself. So I had gone through the drive-through at Dairy Queen. I had Arlo with me, so I couldn't go in. So I was like, well, I'll just eat in the car. And so I got like a milkshake and a cheeseburger and some cheese curds. I love freaking cheese curds. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm eating, and I turn my phone on or take it out of airplane mode. I usually keep it in airplane mode when I'm out um, camping, so it saves the battery. So it's not like trying to get a signal all the time. So I turn my phone on and I'm like looking at my messages and stuff, and I have a voicemail. And I don't recognize the number. And I'm like, I wonder who that's from. And I'm sitting in a Dairy Queen parking lot and I play it. And it's that guy. It's that event promoter. And he goes, hey, Beans, how's it going? Anyway, look, I had a speaker because he's putting together another one of these events. Like this is the second year that it's going on. So the first one happened. He ghosted Robert and me. He didn't, and we weren't involved. And he announces another one. And now I'm sitting in the Dairy Queen parking lot, and I get a message from the dude, which actually had been the day before because I've been camping. And he goes, "Hey, Beans, uh, just uh, just reaching out to let you know one of my speakers has pulled out on me, and they're not going to be able to make it. And I was just wondering, I wanted to reach out and see." And I'll pause the story right here because you're thinking what I'm thinking. You're thinking the chickens has come home to roost. Like, holy shit, this guy who ghosted me last year, now he's in a tough spot. And he's calling me. He's coming begging Beans to come and pull his fat out of the fryer and come and speak because he's lost a speaker and now he needs rescuing from Beans. That's what you're thinking, because that's what I was thinking when I got this message. And I'm kind of sitting there, with cheese curds hanging out of my mouth with a smug look on my face, sipping on my milkshake, like mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, am I going to be the nice guy and agree to do this guy's show, or should I just tell him to pound sand because he's already ghosted me once? Like, what am I going to do here? I'm like angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. Honestly, they were both pretty much in agreement. They're like, don't do it, Beans. You don't get involved with this BS. But now we're gonna commence the story. So we're gonna jump back into the voicemail. So he goes, "Yeah, I had a speaker pull out at the last minute here, and I was just wondering, I wanted to reach out and see, um, do you know anyone that could come and speak that's native and can give a native perspective on Bigfoot for the audience?" And I was just like, "You gotta be freaking kidding me. You gotta be freaking okay. Not only do you ghost me and not want me and not just ignore me, now you're in a tough pickle. You're not calling and asking for me. You're calling and asking me to recommend someone. So you don't even want me. You want someone that's native, which I'm going to tell you, honestly, I think that's a little racist. I know there are people out there. It's not racist, means it can't be racist. It's a little racist. If I said I wanted somebody white to come, it just, put things through the racism test, all you got to do is just flip it. Like, if you say, like, man, this is a white only space, that's not good. If you say, oh, this is an Indian only space or a black only space or an Asian only space, and it's okay, it's not, because if it was a white only space, it wouldn't be okay. So this is the exact, like, if I called somebody and said, hey, I only want white speakers at my thing, that's, you're a racist piece of shit. And you shouldn't have a event. And this guy's like, hey, can you and the first thing that popped in my head like was just anger. Number one, that he's like, okay, he's not even asking me to come speak, he's asking me to recommend people to speak. And not only is he not asking me to recommend people, or he's asking me to recommend people, he's asking me to recommend people of a certain race, which I just feel is not right. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, well, there is Fred and there's Chook. But again, I'm like, this guy ghosted me and Rob Roy. I'm not going to recommend my people that I know to him and have him treat them the same way. Like, karma's a flat circle, bitch. Like, it's coming around. Like, I'm not going to help you. So anyway, I ended up like I didn't call the guy back. I didn't hear from him anymore. And I'm, thank God that I was out of cell service when that call came through, because I don't know what I would have said if I had got on the phone with him and he gave me that spiel and I was like live talking to him. I would probably have said some things that were not very nice and probably shouldn't have been spoken aloud. But Yeah, I couldn't believe, like, the audacity. The audacity. It's like, "Yeah, hey, I know I screwed you over last year, but here's my chance to make it up to you, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna ask for your help and nothing in return." So, that happened, and again, if you guys haven't caught on yet, I think the theme, the overarching theme that I was talking about, is professionalism. Again, there's a lack of professionalism in this genre, in this community. People wonder, like, why doesn't science take Bigfooting seriously? And this is why. This is why. The stuff that I'm like laying out to you, you've got dudes like talking through heavy eyelids that are an hour and a half late for a podcast, and they want some scientist to like listen to their theory on why there may be a surviving, Gigantopithecus or something uh, walking around out there. Like it's not realistic and it's not sustainable. So yeah, that happened, and I still am just flabbergasted. But as you can tell, I'm getting animated. I'm angry as I'm talking about it right now because I cannot believe the audacity on this dude. I'll give him one thing. I mean, the dude's got a pair. Just like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore that dude and hope he goes away. Oh wait, I need his help, but I'm not gonna ask for him in a way that will benefit him. I'm just going to ask him for help that he's not going to. It just baffles my mind. Like, it's like somebody calling you up. It's like, hey, you're a really good like basketball player or something. Somebody calls you up. It's like, hey, I need your help. Do you know anybody that's that's Asian that can come over and play basketball? It's like, what? It just baffles my mind. Like, this guy's asking me to like he couldn't like Google like Native American like Bigfoot researchers or something. I don't know. I don't get it. But like if he knows who I am, surely he knows who like Fred is. I mean, I don't get it. Maybe he reached out to Fred and Fred had said no. I don't know. And then there's Chuke. I would, like I said, I would have if this dude had like done the right thing and told me like, oh hey, I'm sorry, wait, we can't have you or whatever. If he hadn't ghosted me, then I probably would have recommended like Fred or Chuke to him. Like I wouldn't have felt bad about it. But I'm like, I'm not going to recommend, because I'm gonna. So think about that. I sent like I did to Rob Roy. I'm like, hey, this guy is interested in having you in his thing, and he's going to reach out to you. And then the guy treats Rob Roy like shit. I feel like that reflects poorly on me. So I think I'm done with that. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna leave that in 2024. Actually, I'm not, because if he calls me in 2025, he gonna get it. So we're gonna leave that in 2024. And we're gonna move on to the last one. This is the last grievance for 2024. The most personal grievance for 2024. And it's a grievance that I don't it's not even my grievance. This is the thing. Like, I don't understand it. So there's a gentleman that I've worked with throughout the years. Have been a member of many projects that he's done, and projects and documentaries and uh, events and things, and have always basically been there for him when he needed me. There have been many times when this person would call me up and be like, "Hey, we're going to do this in 2 months. Be ready," and then it never happened. I wouldn't say I got ghosted like I did with the other guy, but he has a history of not following through with projects. It got to the point where he called one time and was like, "Hey, I really want you to be a part of this project." I had a scheduling conflict, but I knew, like, as he's describing the project to me, I'm like, he's not gonna be able to. It's not gonna happen. So I agreed. I was like, "Yeah, sure, man, I'll do it. I'm there for you." And sure enough, it didn't happen. Like I knew it wasn't going to happen. It was too grandiose of a scheme, I guess. But I had agreed to do it because I wanted to be there for him. But at the same time, I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I kind of, under false pretenses, I guess, I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I got, if it had, I would have figured out a way to do it if it had come to it. But I knew, I'm like, this is not going to be a conflict because it's not going to happen. So I agreed to do it. Sure enough, the project fell through, didn't happen. And, I felt like I did my part. I was there for him, said he would do it, said I would do it, and would have done it. But I knew it wasn't going to happen. Well, he comes earlier this year and is like, hey, I want you to be a part of this project. It was going to be me and another gentleman that I've worked with closely with this gentleman, and we were going to do expedition. And I think it was supposed to be filmed. I don't know. And he had some ideas for it. And again, I'm kind of thinking, I didn't think it was going to happen. Because basically the last several projects that had fallen through that he had planned. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but I agreed to do it because, it did sound like a fun project. And I agreed to do it. I said I would do it. My other friend agreed to do it. And there for a while, for a couple of months, I was in real steady contact with him, and he would call or text, and we would be like, oh, okay, yeah, we're still on. Well, then summer hit, and I got busy, and I noticed I wasn't hearing from him anymore. And I just kind of figured that was, that's the cycle of these things. Like, I get basically inundated with calls and texts, and then I don't hear anything for like 6 months, and then the cycle starts again. A new project comes up, and he gets excited about it, and we talk about it, and then it gets canceled, and then I don't hear from him for a few months, and then that's the way it goes. And so I hadn't heard anything. I'm in a group chat with some other researchers, and the date, I think I even did a meme about it where I was like supposed to, like, I had my bags packed, like we were supposed to go, and I'm like, I haven't heard anything from him. And which I understand, like, the phone works both ways, but I'm like, this is his deal that he asked me, like, he should reach out to me and like let me know, because I'm assuming he's going to like take care of my arrangements, because I don't know where we're going. So the day comes, the day goes, I don't hear anything. And I'm like, it must have fell through. He's probably busy with other stuff and non-Bigfoot stuff. And he'll get back to me, and the cycle will start all over again. He'll call, he'll be excited about a project, and we'll be at it again. We'll be planning and scheming, and then maybe that project will happen, probably won't, but maybe it will, and the cycle will begin anew. So the day came and went. I didn't think that much about it. A couple weeks later, I'm in a group chat with a group of other Bigfoot aficionados, and someone puts in a group chat like, hey, I just got back from this like 2-week expedition with so-and-so, and I'm like, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what the frick? Like, he went? And didn't, like, I was a little like, why didn't he tell me he didn't need me? Like, why? For all he knew, I was sitting at the door with my bags packed. So my other friend that I have worked with this gentleman before with, I reached out to him, and I had said, hey, did our mutual friend mention, like, have you talked? And he's like, oh, I haven't heard from him in months, which is about the same amount of time I hadn't heard from him. So I just figured, that's the way it goes. Like, he's on to something else. He'll get back to us when he's ready. Well, then I get the information that the trip happened without me and my other good friend. So I reached back out to him. I'm like, oh, look, uh, it happened. And I guess our invite got rescinded. And we were both like, what the hell? Like, it's just weird because allegedly we're all like the three amigos, like we're good buddies. Well, then my buddy is like, oh, I just realized he unfriended me on social media. And I'm like, what? So I go look, sure enough, I'm unfriended on social media. So I don't know what happened. Like I said, this isn't my grievance. Like, I'm a little upset that I wasn't kept in the loop, but I would like to know like what I did to warrant, like cut contact. I feel like if I had to take a guess, if I had to ponder a query, I would say that he probably felt like we weren't promoting him or his like company or expedition or whatever, and that probably made him mad. But at the same time, like, do you know how many like projects we were supposed to do and then didn't? And so I just got gun shy about posting anything because you never know what's going to happen and what's not. After it's done, I'll talk it all up. I'll be like, hey, look what we did, or look what we're doing, or, like this is it, like it's coming soon, or whatever. If it's a sure thing. But if you don't know, if so many projects have fallen through or got canceled at the last minute, I don't want to promote stuff that's not going to happen. So I feel like that is probably the reason, is because he felt like we weren't basically giving it enough attention or enough mention on our social medias or something. Um, at the same time, like I wish he would just like have mentioned like, hey, I feel like you should be talking this up more or promoting, like reach out, be a freaking adult and freaking talk about it, you know? Um, but I guess, that's not the path he chose. So here we are. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to spend any time worrying about it. But again, the main theme of our grievances this year, much like last year, is professionalism. You know, send an email, send a text, make a call. Hey, I'm sorry, this isn't going to happen. Or hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to like rescind the invite because of this reason or that reason. Like you can use tact, and tact is the way of making someone look forward to going to hell. Like, have you heard that, where you can like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, man. We're just not going to be able to make the trip happen this year with this many people. I've done X amount of trips with you before. I kind of want to take some new blood. There's some people with some different skills that I want to include. I'm sorry, you're just not going to make it. You're not going to make the cut this year, but we'll work together again soon. Hey, man, okay, that sucks, but I get you. I'll see you on the next one. Would have totally got it. Would have totally understood. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. It just, years of friendship apparently just gone over what nobody knows. Me and my other associate are kind of left scratching our heads. And, but we're moving on. I mean, who cares? We're going to do what we do. I hadn't worked with him in a while anyway. Like I said, all these projects would come up and then they would get canceled or they wouldn't happen. And so I don't know. I'm a little surprised that this one actually occurred. It sounds like they got in and did their expedition. If they found anything or not, I don't know. Uh, but yeah, I was a little taken aback by that. I was like, I can't believe that he wouldn't just send me a text or email and be like, "Hey, sorry, man, I can't take you." Or if you're angry with somebody, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm a little angry with you, or I'm confused as to why you aren't doing this, or this." Like, be an adult. Use your words. You know, somebody, one of my instructors used to say, the best 2 inches you got going for you are between your nose and your chin, and you can use that to do just about anything you want. And if you use tact, you can do just about whatever you want with those 2 inches. But anyway, that's it, guys. That's it for 2024. It's in the books. It's done. What are we looking forward to 2025? I will say, I will admit, I went back and listened to last year's before this episode, and I will admit I was wrong, mostly wrong about the AI thing. I was saying last year that I thought, it was going to get pretty bad on the AI front, and how we were not going to be able to tell what's real from AI, and it was going to get worse and all this. And I think I actually kind of feel differently about it. I actually feel like AI has almost helped in a way. Uh, I feel like AI has made people a little bit more skeptical, and that's probably a good thing. And I've seen some things that people were like, "That's AI." It wasn't AI. It was actually like a screenshot from a movie, or it was something else. But I've seen people calling things AI that weren't AI, but they're not real anyway. So I think it's made people a little bit more skeptical, and I think that's probably a good thing. So maybe it's helping to keep people on their toes. In fact, the only man, it's been a long year, so I can't really like say for sure. But I know I talked about it a couple episodes, the AI image that was going around from like Todd Standing, or who, I think it was him. Uh, and that was like a flash in the pan. I saw that a couple of times in a couple of days, and it was just gone. So did he memory hole that? I mean, did he take it down? I don't know, but it definitely looked AI to me. I did see a couple of people that, and I think they believed it because he posted it. If I posted it, people would be like, "That's AI beans. Like that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen." But because he posted it, I think he has a lot of people that basically believe whatever he puts out. So anyway, guys, that's it, man. 2024 is gone. It's done. 2025. I got a birthday coming up soon. Um, I'm a little embarrassed to admit I actually had to like calculate to see how old I was. I've stopped keeping track. And I was like, wait, how old am I going to be? And I had to like look it up, and I was a little like, ooh, 50s getting closer and closer. It's objects in the rearview mirror may be closer than they appear. I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for that half a freaking century mark, man. That being said, though, I think I'm doing okay. Knock on wood. I think I'm doing all right. I notice I'm getting slower, although I'm trying to get in better shape and work out and be healthier. I've talked on here about how I've lost some weight. I took a little break during the holidays. I think the last day I worked out was the Monday before Christmas, and I'll probably start back again on the 6th, just because my birthday's coming up, and I'll probably enjoy my birthday, and then after that, it's back to the gym. Not that I go to the gym; I work out here in my house. But anyway, guys, that's it. It's the grievances. Um, let me know what your grievances were. Let me know what pissed you off in 2024 about the Bigfoot community. Put them in the comments. If you have submissions for the 2025 grievances, you can email them to alasquatch@gmail.com, or you can head over to the website, alasquatchpodcast.com. There's a section there to reach out and contact me, and you can put it in that, and it'll get to me. Also, while you're there at the alasquatchpodcast.com website, you can go to the store. You can pick up some of the books I wrote. You can pick up a t-shirt, a hat like this one, or just some stickers and knickknacks and other doodads that we got that are easy to ship from Alaska. And show your support for Alasquatch. And hopefully the channel grows a little bit more next year, and things keep on trucking. I got some stuff planned with Rob Roy and Chook. We don't know exactly where we're going yet, but we got some trips planned. We're going to block out some dates, try and do some camping, and hopefully maybe some exploring. And then I've got a couple of things planned on my own that I'm going to do, and we'll see. Nothing out of state yet. No, no conferences, no expeditions or anything like that. I don't know. We'll see. I really want to go back to that place in British Columbia, but that rest stop. But people don't understand how freaking far away from me that is. People are like, "Have you been back to that rest stop?" Like I can just get in my car and like just be there in a couple hours. Like you don't understand. That's like 3 or 4 days drive away from me. And if I go back, I want to do it right. Like I want to spend the night. So I'd like to like rent like a travel trailer or something and do it. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm ever going to get back there. I sure hope I do. I'd love to go back there. I don't know. It's like it's such a long trip, you know. It's not like, and I want somebody to go with me too. So it's not like I can just ask Chuke like, "Hey, let's go. You know, let's drive like 20 hours to this freaking rest stop in the middle of nowhere, British Columbia, and like spend the night and then turn around and drive back." So we'll see. We'll see what I can do. Again, I really want to go back there, but logistics is a pain in the butt. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me rant and ramble and just complain. Um, like I said, hopefully the main show is a little bit more positive since I get all the negative stuff out at the end of the year and keep it in one episode. So thank you so much and happy New Year.